This Nokta Makro Legend detector out here, boys. People may have seen Delik's new video. I watched it. And I'm going to show you a few things here, okay? Some of what she says in that video is true. Actually, you might can say it's all true, but I think she left something out that's sort of important. People may not catch it. So I'm going to show you this is version 1.09 in this machine. Okay, I'm in a park program. I don't think it matters. M2. Well, mash the ground balance button. You see 25 in the window. Now, I just dialed that in there, and I've got a nail here elevated and a square tab, okay? So now I'm going in here, and I'm in manual ground balance. I don't have tracking on. Or no, I do, too. Tracking is off, okay? So now I've went back in, holding the button. Coming down on this nail. Watch that meter. See that? Went to 0. So I'm going to go back in here, run the ground balance intentionally back up to 25. Okay, now tracking is off. I'm going to hold the ground balance button down and bob this. See, the meter went to 0. That didn't take long, okay? So if you're out in the field with this detector, and you do, let's just say, a little more extended manual ground balance. If there's some metal on this coil, it'll go to 0. That'll warn you, danger. You're under metal, okay? So you might want to move the coil into a cleaner spot, and then if it locks on a positive ground phase, okay? Now, we're going to go in here, and I'm going to turn tracking on. Okay, now tracking is on. I'm raising the ground balance to 25 just like we did before, okay? Now I'm going to mash the ground balance button and come out of ground balance. Now I'm going back in. Wait a minute. Raise it to 25. Okay. I turn tracking on. I'm going to come out of ground balance, go back into ground balance. Tracking is on now. I'm going to bob the coil over this nail. Notice what happens? No change, okay? No change, okay? So now I'm going to go back over this tab. Tracking is on, 25 in the window, bobbing the square tab. Okay, so if you're out in the wild with this machine and you're doing a ground balance with tracking on, you're not going to get the warning. You're not going to get the indication that there's metal under your coil, okay? But you will in manual or auto ground balance, maybe they call it now. We'll do this little test here right quick because she makes reference to this and she is correct. Okay, tracking off, okay? Coming out of ground balance, I'm holding the coil up in the air here. See her counting down to 0? Okay. Now I'm going to go back in here, dial it back to 25. Okay. Tracking selected. I'm going to come out of ground balance, go back into it. I'm holding the coil in the air, and notice the ground phase number in that window doesn't move. Okay. You see that? 25 still in there. I've been holding this thing about 20 seconds. I'll go back into ground balance, deselect tracking, exit ground balance, go back in, and watch the number come down. That is not tracking ground balance, okay? Now, that's how my machine behaves based on that video she showed. Now, in tracking, I'm going to go ahead and tell you this. I did a little test. In tracking, this machine will never count down, okay? I've watched it 10 minutes. It won't count down in tracking, even sweeping a non-ferrous target, leaving the tracking ground balance window open. It will not move, okay? I've watched it both configurations, not sweeping and sweeping that nail that you've seen in this video here. The ground balance won't move. Now, that's not holding this button in, this ground balance knob button, okay? So, for example, if I go back in here and dial in 25, all right? Now, let me see what I got selected here. Okay, tracking off. There's 25. Now, if I hold this coil in the air like this right here without holding the ground balance button, it's not going to change, okay? But it will change if I'm holding this button in like so. Okay? But tracking ground balance won't make it change. Holding the button in even, okay? So now, right there, let's see, tracking is selected, and now I'm holding the button in. No change, okay? So it's sort of mind-boggling. The manual ground balance or auto ground balance, whatever they call it on this machine, does something that the tracking won't do. I don't know why they don't have it where the tracking won't do this like the manual or auto ground balance, but that's the way they've done it. I hope you enjoyed the video.